Happy Mother's Day, everyone out there. It's been a funny old week. As you can see, I'm not even dressed yet. I've started doing my face, but it's been tough. A tough week for a lot of people um, with COVID and it being Mother's Day and trying to see you, perhaps seeing your parents or not, depending on what your situation is, or your mum. Um, and as a mum myself, I have to say that, one thing I've learned over the years that when you give birth to that darling little child that you fall madly in love with, um, you are still going to be there for them even when they're fully grown. Um, and life can be tough as a mother, but you have to weather every storm because that's what we mothers do. It's about being there throughout all their trials and tribulations as adults, as well as when they were small um, and gorgeous and adorable. We have to love them even when they're not adorable. But that is what mothers do. Um, and obviously, there's been a lot of things going on this week. The terrible tragedy, and the loss of a young woman's life. And I feel for the parents there that must have been the most awful thing. I can't imagine the worst thing. It must be every mum and dad's nightmare to to have that happen to them. But I think we mustn't overthink it. It's just one man, one incident. We don't all need to be hiding away as women. I was out in London last night on my own, walking from the hospital to a station, and I didn't feel unsafe. I was quite happy. It was sort of mid-evening. There was a few people about. There was sort of a local, probably one of the regular local people, sort of odd, strange guy making bird noises and singing in the street, which I took no notice of and just carried on walking. Probably just, but that's London, always diverse. But let's not overthink it. You've got to be careful. I've always thought that anyway. I've always taken precautions, and that's just staying safe. But let's not start suggesting that all men need locking up or need some sort of restraining time limit out on the streets. That would be absurd, wouldn't it? Um, it's equal rights for all, but let's just try and keep safe and not, as I said, overthink the situation. It's an appalling situation, but I imagine that everything's been heightened by the COVID pandemic and there's a lot of irrationality going on. So let's try and keep calm and carry on in the true English tradition of life. So happy Mother's Day. I would like actually to read you uh, a poem that was in my granddad was a famous poacher, believe it or not, and he wrote a book about his life, and he dedicated the book to his mother. And in the back of the book, there is actually a poem, and I'd like to finish this little vlog with that. So if you all care to listen, um, I hope you enjoy it. It's called Somebody's Mother. The woman was old and ragged and grey, and bent with the chill of the winter's day. The streets were wet with recent snow, and the woman's feet were feeble and slow. She stood at a crossing and waited long, alone, uncared for, amid the throng of human beings who poured her by, nor heeded the glance of her anxious eye. Down in the street with laughter and shout, glad in the freedom of school let out, came boys and girls like a flock of sheep, hailing the snowdrifts white and deep. Past the old woman, so old and grey, hastened the children on their way, nor offered a helping hand to her, the timid old woman who was afraid to stir. afraid lest the wheels of the horse's feet should strike her down in the slippery street. At last came one of the merriest troops, the gayest lad of all the groups. He paused beside her and whispered low, "I'll help you across, if you wish to go." Her aged hand on his strong young arm she bent, and so, without hurt or harm, he guided her trembling feet along, proud that his own were young and strong. Then back again to his friends he went, his young heart happy and well content. She's somebody's mother, boys, you know, although she's aged and poor and slow, and I hope that somebody will lend a hand to help my mother, you understand, if ever she's poor and old and grey, when her only boy is far away. Somebody's mother bowed her head. In her home that night, a prayer she said. It was God be kind to that noble boy, who is somebody's pride, hope and joy. So on this Mother's Day, let's not forget that besides somebody's mother, that, you know, men, boys are also somebody's sons, and I think we all deserve to be treated well, whichever you are. So happy Mother's Day, one and all. I'm going to get dressed, and hopefully we're going to have some nice food and maybe a glass of wine or two. So I wish you all well. Enjoy it how you do, but speak to you again soon. Mwah.